Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about using place value to write decimals as equivalent fractions and to write fractions as decimals. This is lesson 13 for module 2 for grade 7. We're going to do example 2 and example 3. Example 1 should be been done in class together. In example 2, we're going to use these place values, the idea of place value, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, decimal place values, to write these decimals as fractions. So first we have the number 2 and 25 hundredths. Well, the way we say it helps us know how to write it as a fraction. This is 2 wholes and 25 hundredths. So when we say it, then we can write it, the 5 is in the hundredths place, so as a fraction it's written as 2 with 25 in the numerator and 100 in the denominator. 25 hundredths. If we want to rewrite this fraction in its simplest forms, we can do some interesting things. The way we've done it before is to show dividing or multiplying by a certain number to simplify it. You can also rewrite our fraction in its factors and then cancel things out. So if I rewrite 25 hundredths as 25 on the top and 4 times 25 on the bottom, I can see that I could divide both parts by 25 and get 1/4. Or I can show it as canceling common factors. So I can cancel the 25s that are the factors on the top, the numerator, and the bottom, the denominator, and I get 1/4. Therefore, I can rewrite 2 and 25 hundredths as 2 and 1/4. Let's look at a slightly different decimal, 2 and 25 thousandths. See how the 5 is in the thousandths place? If I write this as a mixed number, I'm going to be writing it as 2 over 1,000 because it's 25 thousandths. So 2 and 25 over 1,000. And if I want to rewrite this as its simplest form, I can do the same thing. I'm going to rewrite 25 over 1,000 into its factors. And 1,000 is the same as 4 times 25 times 10. Now I know there's other factors. There's 5s in here and 2s that I could factor out. But to get a common factor, one on the top and the bottom, I can stop at 25. If I cancel out the 25s, I've rewritten 1,000 as the product, 4 times 25 times a 10, and I cancel out the 25s, top and bottom, then I get 1 over 40 as my answer. So 2 and 25 thousandths is the same as 2 and 1/40th. This tells me there's 40 groups of 25 in 1,000. All right, let's take a look at our next example. In this example, we're going to take a little bit closer look at the word decimal. And I know we've been working with some problems that tell you how to deal with decimal place values if you've been working in ST Math. So what are decimals? If we talk about decimals, they're part of a whole, right? A tenth place is 1/10 of a number. So if I take one whole and break it into 10 pieces, I divide that interval into tenths, right? One piece would be 1/10 of that unit. Now, my unit could be one whole, it could be 1/10. So 1/10 of 1/10 would be 1/100th. If I look at this on a number line, here's one whole from 0 to 1, and I break it into 10 pieces. One of those pieces is 1/10, or written as a decimal 1/10. And it works the same going in the negative direction, or if I go greater than 1. This is 1 and 1/10 here. If I talk about the word decimal to relate decimal place values, each place value in a decimal is 1/10 of the value of the place to its left. So that the denominators of the fractions that represent each place value must be powers of 10. So 1/10 of 1/10 is 1/100th, or 10 times 10. And 1/10 of 1/100th is 1/1000th, or 10 times 10 times 10. So if we take a look at these, here's 1/100th. It's 1/10 times 1/10, or 10 times 10 in the denominator. 1,000th is 10 times 10 times 10 in the denominator. And 1/10,000th is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 in the denominator. Now, you should have talked about place values in like 5th grade, so hopefully this is not new to you, but we're going to use this idea to help us write our fractions as decimals. We're going to write the number 3/100ths as a decimal, and we're going to talk about our steps. So the decimal form is 3/100ths, because 3 is in the hundredths place. But if we look at it as a fraction, it's a power of 10, 100 in its denominator. So if I take a look at the second decimal place is 1/100th, so 3/100ths puts that number 3 in the second decimal place. Now remember to look at our whiteboards if you need help with your decimal place values. We're going to do this again with 3/20ths as a decimal. Now it does not already have a power of 10 in its denominator, so we have to make it a power of 10. To make it a power of 10, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 5, so I get 15 over 100. The fraction includes a power of 10, 100 is the denominator, and the value, the second place value is 1/100th, so 1500ths puts the 5 in the second place value, like this, 1500ths. Now I'm going to do the same with 10/25ths. Pretty much the same thing. I'm going to write it out in its factors. I'm going to make the denominator a power of 10 by multiplying the top and bottom by 4, so I get 40/100ths. And I can write this as 4/10ths or 40/100ths. Now I could have simplified by dividing by 5s, but then I would still need to multiply it by 2, which was a little more complicated, so I didn't do it this time. But in this number, 8/40ths, to write it as a decimal, we can't just multiply 40 by something to get a power of 10. So this time I'm going to simplify. I'm going to rewrite it as 2/10ths, 2 times 4 over 10 times 4, and I'm going to divide out those 4s. So I get 2/10ths. Now I have a power of 10, and I can write it as 2/10ths. Okay, make sure that you go back and read what you've written so that you understand it a little better. Sometimes when we're writing, it takes us a little while to understand what's exactly being said. Listen to some parts again if you need to, and we're going to do some of the exercises from lessons 13 in class. See you then.